The late afternoon sun bled across the wide Montana sky as Luke Harrison rode his old chestnut mare down the dusty trail. He wasn't a man of many words, nor one who often left his ranch. But this time he needed a new horse, strong, loyal, and fast. The one he had raised from a colt had gone lame, and the cattle roundup was coming soon. So, when a trader from the next town told him about a fine stallion for sale at an old barn near Dry Creek, Luke didn't think twice. He adjusted his hat, clicked his tongue, and rode down the forgotten road that led to that lonely barn. The place looked deserted, wood panels half-rotted, roof sagging, and a chill wind whistling through the cracks. Luke tied his mare outside and stepped in. The scent of hay and dust filled the air, but something else hung beneath it, something foul like rust and fear. His boots echoed as he called out, "Hello? Anybody here?" No answer. Just the creak of old wood and the flutter of pigeons startled by his voice. He walked past the empty stalls, each one lined with tools and ropes. The silence felt too heavy, almost as if it were hiding something. Then from the far end he heard it, a sound so soft he almost missed it. A faint whimper. Luke froze. His hand instinctively went to his revolver. "Who's there?" he said, his voice firm but calm. Again that sound, a sob this time. He moved slowly, boots crunching straw, until he reached a closed stall door. When he slid it open, his heart clenched. There in the dim light was a woman, her clothes torn, her skin bruised, her wrists chained to the wall like some forgotten prisoner. Her eyes widened in terror as he stepped closer, and she flinched away from him like a wounded animal. Hey, easy now," Luke said, lowering his voice. "I ain't gonna hurt you." She stared at him, shaking her head weakly. "Please, don't tell him," she whispered. "Tell who?" he asked, scanning the barn. But before she could answer, the creak of the front door snapped through the silence. Heavy footsteps followed. Luke quickly ducked behind a post, peeking toward the entrance. A burly man entered, his shirt stained and a rifle slung across his shoulder. He muttered to himself, tossing a feed sack aside. Luke's jaw tightened. Whoever this was, he was the kind who didn't deserve mercy. The man walked toward the stall, his boots thudding against the wooden floor. "Still quiet, huh?" he said with a grin that made Luke's stomach twist. "Good. Maybe I'll sell you to the next traveler instead of that horse." That was enough. Luke stepped out from the shadows, revolver drawn. "That horse trader you talked to, he sent me," Luke said coldly. "Didn't tell me I'd find this instead." The man spun around, eyes wide. "You've got no business here, cowboy." "Neither do you, keeping a woman like this," Luke shot back. Before the man could lift his rifle, Luke fired, a warning shot that split the plank beside him. "Drop it," Luke barked. The man hesitated, then lunged. A scuffle broke out. Hay flying, fists slamming, boots scraping against the barn floor. Luke took a punch to the jaw but countered hard, knocking the man into a trough. The rifle clattered away. Luke grabbed the keys hanging from the man's belt and rushed to the woman. Her eyes were wet with disbelief as he unlocked the chains. "You're safe now, ma'am," he said softly. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. "My name's Luke Harrison. I ain't gonna let him touch you again." The man groaned, trying to rise, but Luke kicked the rifle far away. "You'll answer to the sheriff," Luke warned. Outside, the sun had dipped low, painting the world in gold and red. Luke lifted the woman gently onto his horse. "We'll get you home," he said. She looked at him, trembling. I don't have one anymore." Luke's heart sank at those words. "Then you do now," he said quietly. As they rode away from the burning orange horizon, the barn behind them echoed with the sounds of justice left, unfinished, but something told. Luke, this was only the beginning. The next morning, the sun rose over Harrison Ranch, a quiet place nestled between rolling fields and pine woods. Luke poured coffee in the kitchen as the woman sat by the fire, wrapped in one of his sister's old blankets. Her face, though bruised, carried a strange grace, the kind that came from strength long buried under pain. "You got a name?" Luke asked gently. She hesitated before whispering, "Clara." "Where are you from, Clara?" "Nowhere that matters anymore," she said with a faint, broken smile. Luke didn't press further. He knew the look in her eyes. The look of someone who'd seen too much cruelty and learned not to trust easy. Still, something about her stirred a fire in him, a need to protect, to make right whatever wrong had been done. Days turned into weeks. Clara helped around the ranch, tending the garden, feeding the animals, laughing softly with the hired hands. Slowly, her fear began to fade, and slowly, Luke began to care more than he should. One evening, as the sunset burned across the plains, she stood beside him by the fence. "You could have left me there," she said quietly. "I don't leave people behind," he replied. She looked down. "The man who chained me, his name's Briggs. He used to be my husband." Luke's hands tightened around the post. "He sold me once," she continued, her voice trembling, "to pay off his debts. When I tried to run, he chained me in that barn." Luke's jaw clenched. "Then he's still out there?" She nodded. "He'll come for me." And he did. That very night, the silence broke with gunfire. Luke ran from the house, shotgun in hand, as shadows moved near the stables. Briggs and 2 of his men were there, torches burning, eyes full of hate. "Where's my wife?" Briggs shouted. "You can't steal what's mine." "She ain't yours," Luke roared back. "She's a free woman now." The fight was quick and fierce. Bullets tore through the dark, wood splintered, horses screamed. Luke took a hit in the shoulder, but stood his ground. He fired once, twice, dropping Briggs to his knees. Clara stepped out from the porch, tears streaming down her face. Briggs glared at her. "You'll always belong to me," he spat before falling lifeless to the dirt. The world went still. Clara trembled as Luke lowered his gun. He walked to her slowly, blood staining his sleeve. "It's over," he said softly. She collapsed against him, sobbing into his chest. "No," she whispered, "it's just beginning." Weeks later, when spring returned to the valley, Clara stayed. She planted flowers where the barn once stood. Bright wildflowers that danced in the breeze. Luke would sometimes find her there at dusk, watching the sunset in silence. One evening, she turned to him with a small smile. "You didn't just save my life, Luke, you gave it back to me." He smiled back. "Guess that makes us even then. You gave mine meaning again." The camera fades as the wind blows softly across the plains. 2 souls who found peace, where pain once lived.